In my ranch in Mexico, we have to manage for 270 days of non-growing season and 95 days of growing season. And I'm going to show you pictures later on a drought year, the worst in 70 years. We were able to double the stocking rate by doing this, and we only got rain 5.5 inches in September. And that grew enough forage for the next year because it was left alone and not grazed for the whole growing season, even if no growth was there because it didn't rain. When it finally rained, it grew like in a month it grew this high. So this works. Even in a drought year, last year we had half the rainfall average, and we could have like 2 acres per animal on this very poor soil. This year it's getting better, so we can go up. But last year, and this year it rained average, so very good year. Okay. Any question about this? Not about this.
Are you going into more detail later on the stockpiling?
Yes, I am. I have the PowerPoint. I have this video that is hayless winter grazing. We did a school here in January to show the body condition of the cows and the management and the frequent moves and the rationing of the forage. And we kept the calves on the cow for 10 months by doing that at a low cost and good body condition without hay. So that makes money. Yeah. And yes, I'm going to. What do you want to know about the stockpile?
Well, you're talking about you were going to mow that out there where the cows have been so it wouldn't get too mature.
Yes.
But then the stockpiling is just growing for months.
Yes, sir. It's growing for months, and it's going to be over mature and low in protein in February.
Do you have frost here?
Yes, we got 13 frost this winter.
If you have a frost and then a lot of rain, does it mess it up?
Yes, it will go down in quality. That's for sure. We did graze some bahia that was 2 years old. So it had frosted, then rained, then frosted for a full year. So that's 2 years after growing, 2 winters, and we grazed it. And these cows that have adaptation in nutrition, they did well. But we had to use some compost energy there to have them digest that forage. It was so lignified. And we use 1/3 of a pound per cow per day. That's an energy supplement that Mark will talk about, not me. Okay. Well, an energy supplement that improves the number of bacteria, increases the number of bacteria in the rumen. So when the forage comes in, the rumen functions in batches. So they attack the forage at a higher level, so less forage goes to the next stomach without getting digested. So the manure pile at the end grows a little smaller, and the cow gets more out of the forage.
So the compost is energy, and then you get supplemented protein also?
Yes, we were supplementing protein all winter long. A flaxseed meal, 1.5 pounds per cow per day.
Until the clover came?
Until the clover came. When we had the clover, we stopped everything. And we only used the compost on those 2-year-old forage. When we were grazing forage grown this season, this last summer, we didn't need the compost. It's as any supplement, you use it when you need it.
Flaxseed meal?
Yes, that's what we used because it's high in omega-3 and it's good for health.
And you have to feed it in troughs?
I fed it in troughs, but Mark says that we can feed it in the ground, so I'm going to try that this winter.
You're going to pour it on the ground?
Yes. Right?
Sure.
Okay, we'll try it. I don't like mixing it with salt with a shovel, and then it makes for half an hour of fun. I prefer to just lay it down in the soil. And then you open the fresh break and you pour it under the wire, the next poly wire, and they all will line up. I will show how on the PowerPoint presentation.
And you said if you got too much protein, that pH is going to be above 7?
Yes, sir. Yes, and you don't want that and you don't need that because it costs to supplement. When you're supplementing, that's when you're supplementing. Now, we want the calves to come into mature grass. We don't want the cows to calve into very short and lush grass because it will create its own problems with an excess of potassium. It will create other edema, and by a higher protein than needed in the last stage, third stage of the gestation, we will have bigger calves. And that I have observed. It's true. Mark teaches about that, and I've seen it. So I try to have them calve into green blended with brown. So we want to have some stockpile and green coming through it when the cows are calving. Or if we have ryegrass, let it mature. If we have clover, let it mature before putting the cows that are going to calve. And then you don't have any problems.
Do you use a specific kind of white clover?
Yes,
Which one?
Osceola.
Osceola?
Osceola.
Osceola white clover.
Yes, sir. 3/4 of a pound per acre, broadcast. And it worked very good.
Do you drag it in at all or just broadcast it?
No, we did. The best planting was twice harrow, then we broadcast it with a cyclone spreader, and then roll it with a big roller.
3/4 of a pound, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was that mixed with other things?
Huh?
Did you plant other things?
Yes, ryegrass and rye, cereal rye. And
Did you say you harrowed it twice?
before spreading the seed.
And then brought it?
Yes, sir.
Harrow, you're talking about dragging.
Yes, dragging.
Times that you're
Not turning it under.
Yes, with those discs.
Yeah. Oh, you did it twice.
Yes, sir.
So you're not planting on top of sod?
No. When we tried that, and it didn't work. It just didn't come good. I don't know what happens, but you need to put the disc to it. And we were worried what will happen next year, but they are the best paddocks with Bermuda and Bahia. So
You
it's,
lightly disking it or you heavy disking it?
I will heavily disc it.
Heavily disking it?
If I had my way, I would do it 4 times.
Do you
Yeah.
have that disc out here?
No, it was leased, but it's a regular agricultural disc.
So you turned it all the way over?
That would be my choice, yes. I wasn't allowed to do it everywhere, but where I did it, where we did it, it was the best.
So you're doing aggressively then?
Yes. And then the Bermuda and Bahia come up anyway, and we have a very good sod now.
Do you have to replant that every year or does it come back?
I've only been here for 1 winter. So right now it's alive. You saw the white clover yesterday? Yes?
I saw some.
Okay. We have it there in the pasture that we planted it. I don't know if it will survive till November, but if it does, some of them will.
But didn't it go to seed and produce its
Oh,
own
it
seed?
produced tons of seeds. So we don't have to replant it. We have enough seed there to last my life and more. Yeah, because every pound has like 1 million seeds. They're so small.
Right.
Yeah, so very, very effective. And it costs, it's expensive seed, so that's why we only use 3/4 of a pound. Yeah. If you can spend more, might work. I don't know.
So what is the actual recommendation pounds per acre?
Like 4,
4 pounds per acre?
but I didn't see any need to do that. No, because it tillers, it has stolons and rhizomes, and if you have 1 plant here and 1 plant here, it will cover everything. Yeah, and they're so tiny, so no need.
What time of the year do you put that white clover in?
Oh, we did it in December, November. No. We started after Halloween.
And when did you put your cereal rye and your...
Everything together.
Okay, so after Halloween.
Yes.
No, this was irrigated land.
Yes.
Right?
It didn't rain this winter, nothing. So it was irrigated land. I was explaining yesterday, you get, out of 10 years, you get 3 years of good rain in the winter and 7 years of dry winters. So if you don't irrigate, I wouldn't suggest you do it. Yeah. Maybe throw the clover and hope for a good year. That's all I would do. I wouldn't harrow disc if I didn't have irrigation, because then you wouldn't have any grass till next rainy season. So no, not a good idea. Now, if we have unpampered cows, you remember the hotel bulls and the real life bulls yesterday? If we have an unpampered cow herd adapted to low quality forages, we can do many things with them. We can use them to clear brush. I'm going to show you a PowerPoint of that. We can use them to even, for example, we had a pasture of Bahia that was continuously grazed before we were allowed to manage it. So you know what happens with continuous graze. You get tall plants that weren't touched through the whole growing season and very small plants. So come winter, we did the ultra high density grazing there, and we didn't have to mow it. We did it with the cows. If I had enough cows right now, I wouldn't be mowing. I will be grazing non-selectively. And then we could have 3 or 4 times more cows. But sometimes it's not easy to go out and buy 300 or 400 cows. So we have to manage. In the winter, it's easier to buy heifers. And by buying heifers in the winter, we can take advantage of knowing how much grass or days we have left in reserve, and we can buy heifers, pick them, and then those heifers put the yearlings bull to them, and the heifers that breed in a 21-day breeding season, we keep. They will be the best in fertility. And the ones that don't breed, we sell them as grass-fed.
Can you explain why you're putting the yearling bulls with them? Is it because of the size?
Yeah, has to do with the size. Yeah, we don't want them damaged.
Right.
By having an unpampered and adapted cow herd, we can calve in the best season conducted to higher stocking rates. That's very important, as we talked right now. And that's conducted to maximum sustainable profits. Less inputs, because they eat more relative to their size, and more profits. And less problems. When we have an adapted cow herd, they will have a sloping rump, and we will have to be pulling calves. In this herd, out of 240 birds, I have pulled only 2 calves, no retained placentas. Those 2 calves, one came backwards, and the other had the neck bent over. That's all the work I've had to do in pertaining to pulling calves. So that makes for less work. It's important. I have had to dehorn some calves that have horns, and it's highly advisable to do that. Another option that we can do to increase carrying capacity, and we did it here because the soil was dead through a lot of, imagine every 2 weeks Roundup for 22 years, if that's 1 gallon per acre per application, it's 24 gallons per year times 22 years, over 400 gallons per acre. That's a lot. So you're going to see when we go out there, they applied it in strips. So there are strips of dead soil and strips of grass. Dead soil, grass, dead soil, grass. But where we have applied compost extract that I'm going to talk about now, it's all grass. And where we have those strips of dead soil, we spread hairy indigo seed, and it wouldn't come up, even with rains and rains. So we applied compost extract there once, and now we have all the tiny plants there. So Roundup is bad and it's residual. So we know how to deal with it now, but I'm not sure if it's totally degraded or not. I don't know. I only know that with biology you can make it productive again. That's all I know. Biology is not only the compost extract, it's legumes. In the winter is for us was the white clover, and in the summer is the hairy indigo, and the maybe the Desmanthus or Aschamine. I don't know. I don't know how to differ. Maybe it's Aschamine. Yes, okay, then it is. And that's coming up. It wasn't here before. It's coming up in the places that we did the ultra high density grazing in the winter. That's where it's coming up a lot.
The low areas too.
Okay.
Did you
we're-
say hairy indigo?
Yes, hairy indigo. Indigofera hirsuta.
Did you seed that, or is that reoccurring natural?
The first plants were natural, so I saw them and I identified them. He took me to Jesse Green Ranch, and he had a beautiful hairy indigo, and he uses it in late fall to put on body condition. So I came back and I saw a lot of it here. So we let it set seed by stockpiling, and the birds love it. A very tiny seed, so they spread it around. And we bought some, that's $2 per pound, and we applied for 4 pounds per acre. That's 8 pounds per acre. Without doing anything, just spread it over the grass, and then we didn't put the cows there. And now it's coming up very nice. So it's a very cheap legume, and it produces 24% protein. So it's highly advisable to use that one.
Summer.
It's a summer, annual, yes. Excuse me? Huh?
Where do you get it?
Where do I get it?
Seed store.
No. We bought it. It's cheaper to buy it through the internet. I don't remember. We have the bags there. So if we go to the shop to see the key line plow, we have it there, so you can. Hancock seed. It's here in Florida. Yes. They also have the Bermuda grass seed. Common Bermuda is the best one for this area, and it's very cheap. It costs $3 per
Why
pound
is common Bermuda the best?
because it requires no fertilizing, and it produces the most pounds of beef per acre under the management that I'm going to explain. And because you seed it with seed, you don't have to sprig it. So the cost is a fraction of sprigging.
What is that? What do you?
Common Bermuda.
Oh, yeah.
And you cannot kill it, even if you want to. And it survives frost, and the others, sometimes they die.
Is that a winter?
No, common Bermuda is summer perennial, low quality under wrong management, high quality under correct management.
It thinks about getting cold and shuts off, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, it does. And that's when the white clover comes in.
Where did you say you got the indigo seed?
Hancock,
Hancock?
yes, I'm certain, yes. Okay, the compost extract. How do you make it? Well, you have to make compost first. You cannot go out and buy the compost because it won't have the native bacteria that you're looking for. So how do you make compost? Well, you bring in manure. We brought it from a dairy that is 18 miles away. We bought like 200 tons of, I told him, I will buy all your manure when you clean up. So it was very, very cheap, like $1 a cubic yard that I paid him plus the freight. Then we spread that manure and we put rotten hay in capas, how do you say it? In layers. And then I wet it with one of the irrigation guns, an F100 Nelson gun with a 3-inch hose. So I stand with the gun and wet it. Once it's wet and dripping, you pile it up with a front-end loader. If it's as high as you can get, if it's too high, then you make a windrow, if it's a large quantity, and it starts heating up. Once it stops heating, you have to move it again with the front-end loader. If this is the windrow, you come with the back-end loader and you put it over the top and you move the windrow to the side. And then,
Just kind of roll the pile.
yes. If you need more moisture, you can spread it again and wet it again and build it again. So by doing that like 3 or 4 times, you end it with a very good quality compost. Once you get the compost and it doesn't smell ammonia, and it smells like dust, musty, like earthy, like in the forest, in the leaves, then it's ready. And you have to send it to a lab. The best one is in Texas. Texas soil, something like that. That one. They can check for humus content, not organic matter. We need to know the humus content, which is the available food for the plants. because we're going to extract the food and the bacteria with it to reproduce it and put it out into the soil with the extractor. So the minimum is a 3% humus content for it to be good. We got at 8.8 because the manure was older in the dairy, so it was very high quality. And then, yeah.
What's the name of that lab again?
Texas Plant and Soil Lab in Edinburgh, Texas. You can Google it. Now we have the machine here that we bought from Sabino Cortez. He's the one that started all this by doing the Serengeti grazing. That's how you get the Bermuda to produce the most, the common Bermuda. So he started doing this, and they observed a German scientist. Okay, let's go back to the compost. So you finish your compost, and then you apply, like, you extract with the extractor like 2 pounds per acre of compost. You extract it, and you blend it in water that is saturated with oxygen with a vortex, with a pump. You blend it with 1 gallon per acre of fish, liquid fish, and 1 gallon per acre of molasses. And then immediately you apply it to the ground, either by sprayer or with on the irrigation system.
So it's 1 gallon of fish extract?
No, 1 gallon of liquid fish per acre, plus 1 gallon of molasses per acre.
And 2 gallons of the
2
extract.
2 pounds of compost, actual compost.
2 pounds of compost.
Yeah, that you extract.
Into what volume of water?
25 gallons per acre. Yeah.
25 gallons of water?
Yes, sir. Sabino Cortez will explain all that if you call him. He's good at it. He has like 30 years experience. I have 6 months experience. But the results are astounding, so I see it as another way to increase your carrying capacity, your profits at a low cost. The cost per acre per application is $5 plus the application cost, so it's low cost. If that can double your carrying capacity and improve your animal performance, it's advisable to do it. Yeah, I mean, if you do it 4 months of the year and cost you $20 plus, let's say, another $5 per acre per application, that will be $40 per year. But if you can carry another cow, and then you improve your humus content and your bricks reading, that's the sugar content of the forage.
How often do you do it?
Every month.
Every month.
In the growing season.
Oh,
Yeah. When it's not growing, there's no benefit.
Benefited by having moisture because you're putting on live bacteria, so you want to keep them alive and they die when it dries out. So an irrigated piece of land is ideal, or in the growing season or in the summer here when we have rain, is when you get the most benefit.
Yeah, now this compost extract will mesh very well with the Serengeti grazing, where you keep a small portion of your ranch with irrigation, because you can carry from 6 to 10 animal units per acre through the summer. So you're drought-proof in your ranch. And for those 4 to 5 months that the Bermuda is growing like crazy, you can stockpile the rest of the ranch. That's why I feel confident that we can go to 2 animal units per acre by having a small portion of the ranch with Serengeti grazing. Serengeti grazing started by a German scientist observing the migration of wildebeest in the Serengeti in Africa. And they came to this portion where it was a monoculture of Bermuda. And on the monsoon rainy season, it was raining every day, every afternoon, just like here. And the Bermuda grows very fast. But after 7 days, it starts losing quality. So the wildebeest got there and grazed shoulder to shoulder, maybe a million. And they stayed there while the rains stayed there. Once the rains stopped, they moved to higher areas that had stockpile grass growing when they were there. So that way, nature has the best of both worlds. a highly concentrated stocking rate in the rainy season, and then they can go to the drier areas that had the stockpile that wasn't touched in the rainy season by them. Some other species graze there. So for us, if we can have like 100 acres of that, that means we can irrigate 100 acres with $5 per acre cost, because then you don't have to spread it. You put it through an injector pump, and you can carry 8 cows per acre. So you could carry 800 cows on 100 acres and let the rest of the ranch stockpile. That could be an option to increase your carrying capacity. And if there is a drought, well, at least you have enough feed, efficient feed, because it goes up to 22% protein with a TDN of over 70. When it's grazed continuously, it's short. Now, a problem will come with the dung and urine. But if we have enough dung beetles to reincorporate that manure as fast as it falls, that means you never see manure older than 1 day. And I went to see it in Texas. They had 6 acres with 60 cows, Red Devon, the big cows. And you could walk there. The grass was like 4 inches tall, or 5. The cows were fat and shiny. And there were so many dung beetles that they were flying all the time, and you could see them flying. But you couldn't find manure. Everything was clean. So it was really amazing. So I tried to do that here this year, but it started raining in May, so we had so much grass that no need for that. So I didn't do it. But what? Yes.
Back to the compost extract. I somehow missed the part where I got the part about making compost. How do you extract? What is that?
Oh,
Is that
I want to go to the machine and actually show it there, so you all can see it.
It's a liquid or a solid?
The compost is a solid, but you put it through a mesh screen with water forced over it, so it will dissolve. And the particles that cannot go through, they stay there, and at the end you throw them away.
That's the extracting process?
Yes, very easy. But it has to,
Pump air in there too, how long do you do that?
yeah, you have to put the vortex running to saturate the water with oxygen for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, you do the extracting, which takes another 20 minutes. And then you put the fish and molasses, and then you go out. So it takes like 50 minutes, the whole process. But you don't brew it. Like the compost tea that they brew it for a day or two, that's very complicated. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. This works all the time, and they reproduce out in the soil instead of in the tank. Yeah. So I like it. I really like it.
So you need moisture, you don't want to do it when it's real dry, is that right?
Oh,
You don't have irrigation.
when you don't have irrigation, you try to spray it very early in the morning so it will get the dew, or late in the evening so it will get the dew at night. Yeah, needs moisture. When it's so dry you don't have dew, it's better not to apply it. You will spend your money, waste your money.
So you don't have much trouble with it clogging up your sprayer?
No, we use I would like you to, the sprayer is right there. I would like you to see the nozzle. It's a big nozzle, just 2 nozzles that spray like this and one that spray.
It's like a fan type.
Yes, so it's big, and it spreads 60 yards each side. No, 60 feet each side. Dade City, Florida.
Hancock dates.
www.hancockseed.com.
Harry.
And it costs $2 per pound, so it's very cheap.
When did you plant that again? When do you?
A month and a half ago. But this we're going to plant this month. It's
All
late.
this hairy indigo?
Yes. 4 pounds per acre.
4 pounds.
So here we have 1, 2, 3,
Broadcasting
4.
that onto the existing ground, you're not harrowing.
No harrowing, no.
Broadcasting.
Yes, this seed needs no harrowing. So the cost to establish is very, very inexpensive.
Show me in your hand. Show me the seed.
Oh, well, you can see it here.
Oh, okay.
That will be even better.
Oh.
It's so small. And it gets spread by birds. They love it. and goes through their digestive system, and some of it sprouts next season. It grows best on sandy soils with low fertility.
Low fertility on
Yeah.
sandy.
Deep
So
tap,
like
deep
if
tap
you had
root.
So if you had like I know you're familiar with orange groves and things,
Yes.
and they're real sandy. Most
Yes.
of them are on high ridges and sandy. That'll grow really good on
Yes, sir. This will be the best for that.
And plant it now, huh?
It's a little late. I would prefer the start of the rainy season so it can grow this big. But even if you plant it now and it stays shorter, it will produce it.
So if we planted like February, March,
No, that's too soon.
too early?
Yeah, I will plant in May.
May,
May.
okay.
That's the best. Then June, July is good. August is a little late, but I will still plant it.
Right.
Well, we're gonna get us some
So
plants.
if you plant it now, so what you're saying is it'll lay dormant.
No, it dies with the frost.
No,
Or
I
it
mean
comes
the
back.
seed, but what I'm saying, the seed will lay dormant for right now until you get your rains, and then it'll sprout up.
Yes, sir. If you plant it now, it will be shorter, but it will produce seed that will start to regenerate every year. Yes, sir.
Okay.
How long
Following
does it take
summer.
to produce seed?
Like with a 3 month, 3 months.
So within 3 months, it'll be tall enough.
But
for
it's
seed to
it's controlled by day length. So once you get to October or late September, it starts to flower.
Okay.
Late September, and by the first frost, it's mature, and it falls down. Or the birds love it. They just all winter long they're there.
Okay.
So the migratory songbirds, they love it. So it's even good for
They eat
wildlife.
it and they actually spread it throughout the rest of your fields and stuff.
Yes,
And get
that's
it in
what
your
I
fields.
see now.
Right.
And when you plant it, how long do you keep the cows off it?
Till it sets seed. And so it's good to do it in the stockpiled areas.
So do it until it matures,
Yes.
Yeah.
then you could put your cows on it.
Yes, sir.
And then they spread it too as they eat it.
Or you can start before the first frost, so they get some good out of it. But even when it's frosted, they eat it.
Right, okay.
Okay, I was talking about using the mower to create more grass and to improve the quality of that grass. Think of picture a golf course, how thick it is, and when you walk, it's like spongy. That's the effect we want to create with the mower. You can create it with cows if you have enough density and enough cows, or you have a stockpile area where you can fall down if you have a drought, or you can create it with the mower when you have excess grass like this year. This year we have too much grass, so we graze selectively on a rotation and we mow behind the cows. By doing that, they leave the stems and they eat the leaves, or the best parts of the plant, and we mow and we feed the bacteria in the soil with those green clippings, which fed the Azotobacter, which is a bacteria living in the soil, not attached to any plant like Rhizobium or those, and it fixes nitrogen from the atmosphere, which is 78 nitrogen%. The air we breathe is not pure oxygen. 78, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, I got it right. So it will fix the nitrogen, it will grow more grass and better quality grass, because when you mow it, it makes the plant grow more tillers, new shoots, or shoots? New shoots, and those shoots will be leaf. Once they mature, they become stem, and when Bermuda flowers, it becomes indigestible, the flower stem. So if we force cows to eat that, they will depress their performance. So by allowing them to select the best parts and mowing behind, we can have a better performance on the cows, a higher body condition, higher fertility, like you saw the cows in good body condition. And at the same time, we will have better grass next time because we mowed behind it. Mowing is not that expensive if you put numbers to it. And sometimes having enough paddocks to move them so frequently that they trample enough is more expensive. So it depends on the size of your herd and the amount of labor you have. But both systems work. Now by keeping the grass, by doing all these strategies of rotating the stockpile areas and by rotationally grazing the other areas, we will create a higher leaf to stem ratio eventually. So we may not increase production so much of forage. We will produce maybe 2 or 3 times more. But the most important part is that we will have more leaf. And what makes for good gains? The leaf, not the stem. If you analyze the content of energy in the leaves compared to the stems with a Brixometer, it will be double the Brix in the leaf than in the stem. So that's the important part. So again, no input will not cut it in this environment. Sometimes we need to mow. Now, having said that, it's important to try to graze the most we can and mow the less we can, because by grazing, there is the animal impact and the saliva from the animal when it harvests the grass that can increase production up to 80%, 78%, the saliva. It acts as a hormone to make the grass grow faster and better. So when we mow, it's after grazing, so the saliva is there. We don't mow before or without grazing. When you mow without grazing, you get less grass growth. So animals and grass do go together. Now when we are grazing, remember we ultra high density graze in the winter or in the dormant season to increase the harvest efficiency of the cows. But that has this effect. It will maintain an even plane of nutrition. But we may have different groups with different requirements, different groups of cattle, like grass finishing steers or first calf cows, second calf cows. They need an improved nutrition compared to the adult cow herd. So on these low octane grasses that we have here, the best compromise is to separate those groups. The less groups, the better, because you get less work and better rotation length. But we separate them and we graze preferentially the groups with the highest requirement. So they will be grazed ahead in a leader-follower fashion of the cow herd. So the finishing steers and first calf heifers will get a maybe higher amount of protein supplement, and they can selectively graze the best portion of the grass, and then we bring the cow herd to finish it off, like if they were the mower behind. That way we increase the efficiency of harvest, and we get the better nutrition for the higher requirement groups. Very important in this environment that is low quality. Yes?
What time element is this? One just in one day and then one the next, or they follow, the herds follow right after one another, or what?
It will be in the winter, so there won't be any bulls there, so they can be side by side. You just have poly wire separating them and moving them. Now the calves, they go under the wire and they creep graze, so that's good. That can happen. And they may get some of the supplement from the first calf heifers, so you just adjust. But it's good. It's a good mistake or a good error.
So they're only separated. They're not separated by any length of time to allow
there is no regrowth.
So you just follow right behind it.
This is a one-time grazing. You have to remember that when you take it all, it won't regrow till next season. So it's a one grazing only.
So as far as the steers and first calvers, they can't, they have a back fence, so they can't get back to any water or mineral or anything like that. You have to keep the water and mineral up with them.
There are two ways to do it. Either you have a lane for them to go to a pond, that's how I do it in Mexico, or you have water for every paddock, like we do it here. They plant a 2-inch pipe, and with risers every 200 feet or yards. So every section has water with those Rubbermaid water troughs.
Or you have to have a lane.
Or you have a lane. Where that gets more complicated, but you can figure it out. Yeah.
What about shade? If you have a paddock that doesn't have any shade, do you have to provide shade, or are these adapted? If you have adapted cows, can they just suck it up?
You mean like here?
Yeah. You just,
Yeah, we don't have
no
shade,
shade.
but I would like shade.
You would like shade.
Yes, I've been trying to plant trees in the crowns. All these pastures have crowns and swallows, because it was a tree nursery. So I want to plant a line of trees in every crown so the cows can have their babies there, because the little calves, when they are 4 days old and younger, they cannot regulate their temperature. So in the heat of the summer, they suffer.
So if you have a paddock, you could make a lane to some oak trees or something for them to...
Then you will have fertility transfer. So by doing it in the crown, then when it rains, it will spread in the middle of the crown, because they will leave their manure in the shade.
What kind of trees are you, I saw some lines of trees.
Oh,
yesterday.
yes.
What are those?
Those are honey locust,
Honey locust?
thornless honey locust grafted to produce a pod that is very high in sugar. It drops in the fall and the cows eat it. Yes, that's a very good idea. Yes.
How do you spell that?
Honey, like honey, and locust, like Locust. Honey locust. There are other trees that are good. You have to find them out. There is the chestnut. Also, they fall down and the cattle can harvest it, Dennis? The cattle can harvest the chestnut?
Yeah, cattle will eat acorns too.
Okay.
Another thing.
What do you have grafted on for them?
Varieties of honey locust. There is a good tree called, a good book.
I can catch up with you on that. You can.
There is a good book.
Get 'em?
Well, yes. There is a good book called Tree Crops by Russell. That talks about them.
J. Russell Smith, Tree
Yes.
Crops, was written in the 50s.
Right. And that book inspired me to do the edible silvopasture. And that book inspired Shepherd too. It's a good book. And it's free on the internet. You can get it there.
What's the name of it again?
Tree Crops. He says, he maintains that you can get a higher yield of energy per acre with trees than with barley or oats or whatever. And it's a perennial.
J. Russell Smith. Did you buy the trees like that, Brad?
This, well, yes, my boss bought them. He saw the benefit, and it's a good tree. Now I would like to talk about edible silvopasture. I have been planting that in Mexico since 1982. So I have tried different spacings, different densities, and different management styles. And lately, there are some researchers from the government that have come into the game, and they have taken it further. So we have teamed up, and we found out that the best density for Leucaena, which is a leguminous tree that is highly palatable, and it's an average of 24% protein, fixes up to 300 pounds of nitrogen per acre per year. We found out that a density of 40,000 trees per acre was the best. If you read the Australians, they haven't gone that far. They use like 8,000. But it's important for the mycorrhiza in the roots of these trees and the rhizobium that the roots touch themselves in between the rows, because then the benefit is transmitted to the grass plant, because the roots get together and the roots of the grass can access the mycorrhiza from the legume tree. So then you have the grass grow large and taller. We have Bermuda that is this tall without going to seed, common Bermuda. And it's higher in protein because of nitrogen it gets from the tree. It's like 16% protein, the Bermuda. And the leaves are wider because of the diffused shade from the tree. The trees are this high. And every 100 feet we leave one row to grow up to a tree for shade and windbreak. We plant them east to west so the sun can travel. And it will break the wind from the north and the southeast wind in the summer. It will create a microclimate in between the rows that are 5.5 feet apart. With that shade and that decreased air movement, the moisture doesn't evaporate as fast, so we can use at least half the water to irrigate than without the trees, because the moisture doesn't get up. Then the trees act as a mineral pump. Yes?
You said you let some rows grow. How do you keep the other ones down? Do you cut them down? Or?
We graze them. And the ones that we let to grow, we protect them with the poly wire.
Oh, okay.
The cows keep them short by correct management. Recovery times in the summer are like 35 to 42 days, and in the winter, we don't get frost over there, 60 to 70 days recovery time. Trees act as a mineral pump because the grass roots don't grow deeper than around this here. There are places they grow deeper, but not here. We have layers down. So the trees having a taproot reach deeper, and they remain green in a drought. So you get your protein supplement right there if you have stockpile. And you don't need to, not in the winter, but in a drought. And then they recycle the minerals from down under, and when they drop their leaves or when the animal graze it fertilizes the soil. So eventually you get, after the second year, you start noticing a larger amount of growth of the grass, and your production per acre goes to double. So we can carry double the amount of cows per acre by planting these trees. Now, how do you plant 40,000 trees per acre in a low-cost fashion? Well, we do it with a non-tilled drill on established Bermuda. That's how we do it, by seed. We don't transplant trees. That's not economical.
Do you have to protect the seedlings
Yes.
for a while after?
Like 6 to 8 months, we don't graze that.
Okay.
So how do you keep the Bermuda from overcrowding the tiny seedlings? Well, we use a weed eater, the big one, the Honda that you put with a harness, and we clean it up to the line of the trees. So that's what has worked for us. And after 8 months, when it gets over 6, 7 feet tall, we start grazing it, because we want the deep taproot to grow, and it will last from 50 to 80 years, this planting.
What was the name of this tree?
Of the what?
The tree that you was planting?
Okay. The trees that I use over there, here it is prohibited by the government, but it's a leucaena. So I went to Gainesville to try to convince them at the university and show them that it's the most profitable planting in the world, because you can produce up to almost 2 tons of beef per acre per year with irrigation, without fertilizer. But they say no, it's an invasive species, and it's just been outlawed not too long ago. They told me you can plant mimosa, which is albizia, Ulybriscian. And I talked to a researcher from South Africa that is working in Alabama, and he told me it's the same quality and the same. So I went with Dennis and did a trial with his goats to see if they will like it. They finished it in 1 minute. A lot of branches that we put. They love it. But I don't have experience with this one. I have experience with this one. And they didn't allow me to do it, so I don't know.
once it gets pretty big,
But Jimmy, what
Leucaena gets pretty big too.
it does.
Yeah, let me explain how you do
what
it.
I like about what you're explaining, and see, he found Leucaena to work for him in his climate, but there has to be something in our climate that works too, whether it's mimosa or whatever, and it's not just the tree that's gonna work here, it's the method of planting, 5.5 feet apart in the rows, and 2 inches, a seed every 2 inches, and that, the tree never becomes a tree, it becomes a grazable shrub,
Yes.
or you keep it down because but it's not in finding the right thing only, it's also in the method of planting it and the management.
You have to look at the growth form of the plant. Leucaena works at this density that I said. Maybe mimosa will need a wider spacing, I mean between rows. Maybe 8 foot or 10 foot. You have to do trials. I did trials. I started with 8 meters, 24 feet. Then I went down to 4, 12 feet. Then down to 2, 6 feet. Then down to 1.6 meters. That's 5.5 feet. That was the best. So it took me a lot of years to find out the best density. Yeah. But now I can get to not buy protein supplement in the droughts. I have them graze the dry grass with the Leucaena, and they do very well.
Do you know anybody using mimosa?
Just this guy in Alabama, the researcher in university. Can you turn the air conditioning on, Mark, please? Thanks.
Is he with the University of Alabama?
Yes, yes.
You know his name?
I don't recall right now, but I think it's in Auburn, Alabama.
Auburn?
Yes, sir. So we will have to try it out. But this is an option. Now, this is my ranch, 270 days of known growing season, 95 days of growing season. So this will be, I divide it in half because it's such a short growing season. So we rotationally graze half of it, and then we leave this grow in the growing season. We don't go there. We only do it here. If we did all of this, it will lose quality because it grows so fast. The same that happens here. So we graze this, and then when we finish this, usually by the end of December, January 1st, we come here, or maybe before, depends on the year, and we start grazing the short strips of these alleys that we built. By 2 or 3 days, we know how many acres they are consuming per day on the average. So by the 5th of January, I know how many days I have left, and I can start planning. I can start planning if I have to sell some animals, if I can buy some animals. In your case, if you can buy hay, over there it's not economical to buy hay. The beef prices are low. So by doing this system, you can know well in advance of your neighbors what you need to do. Buy or sell. And you can take advantage of that knowledge. Knowledge is power, they say. In this situation, it is. So next year, this will be rotationally grazed. Once you come to here, it will be good that when you get to here, they start calving, and it's raining, so they can get brown with green and not be when it's very short. So they won't have any calving problems. And then you start rotationally grazing this part, and you leave this part to stockpile for next winter. So that will be the...
What's the stocking rate here for that?
Okay, that's good. I went up to almost 1 animal per acre. This is at 30 to 35 inches, 30 to 40 inches of rainfall. But that year we had 5.5 inches. Yes. The normal carrying capacity there is 1 animal per 7.5 acres. But by doing this, there is no risk because you know how many days you have left. So if it doesn't rain again the next year, then you're in trouble because this has nothing, and you're finishing nothing. But you know before, so you can deal with it. Yeah. Now, if you don't do this and you do some other type of method, it's very difficult to know exactly how many days you have left. This is very easy and practical. We like to do it easy and practical. If we complicate, no.
How long do you normally rotate?
Here, in the rainy season, 35 days in that ranch. Here, we're doing it in 24, 28 days right now.
How long do you graze it throughout the year? Is it 6 months or 3 months?
This normally starts raining in June and July, and we stop grazing it in December. So 5 months, more or less. This.
How many acres is that?
This total is 750 acres. I had 700 and some animals. Yeah. Now I have half of that because I'm not there, so I'm not doing this now. And the biological capital that we built by doing this is we're consuming it.
You're taking half of it
Yes.
and grazing two animals per acre.
Yeah, on half of it we're grazing 700 and some animals. That's 2 animals per acre. Yes.
During the summer,
During the growing season.
and you're stockpiling the other half.
Yes. Then we switch from here to here, and we start giving them very small breaks to ration it and keep their animal performance or body condition up. They are already bred, so they are easier to maintain their body condition by a small amount of protein. If they were to calve here, you can see how they will need a lot of supplement.
And then the next year you switch the two.
Yes, we move this like that. Yes. Yeah. And by doing that every year, you increase your carrying capacity. Now, if I could have a small portion of irrigated Bermuda to do the Serengeti, I could increase. And that I will talk about that. How to store rainwater for irrigation, but that works best on clay soils. But here too, we have a clay layer like this deep below, and there is a part of the ranch that a stream flows through it year-round. So if we build a big hole, we can store enough water to irrigate 150 acres year-round without pumping from the groundwater. So that's very sustainable. When they start limiting groundwater to irrigate pasture, that's a good option. Someday they will, that's for sure. Okay. What do we need for silvopasture, edible silvopasture? Silvopasture to me is not grazing beneath pine trees. It's grazing the tree, the leguminous tree. That's what increases production.
I have one more, and I want to go back, I'm sorry.
Yes, it's okay.
Whenever I think,
Please ask questions.
whenever I think of stocking rate, I always think of one head as being one cow-calf unit.
Oh, okay.
So if you're saying 750 head, one animal per acre, is it one cow
No.
is one unit?
No, no.
It's still one cow
No,
is
no.
a unit and 2 calves is one unit.
Yes.
Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
So basically, you got, you don't have 750 pairs on this,
No, sir. It will be more like 500.
500 pairs.
Yeah, because most of them were heifers from the other ranch that I grow them there, dairy heifers. Yes, that's correct. But I did increase double the stocking rate in the worst drought in 70 years by doing this. Yes.
So you're basically 1.5 acre per cow-calf pair.
Yes. Yes. When the average is like 7 acres per cow-calf pair. Yes. That's the normal in that area. And you have to buy hay in the drought.
You're not buying hay.
We don't buy, never ever, hay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, and you can do that here.
We're going to try something.
That's what this is about, the hayless winter grazing in Florida. It explains well. Okay. What do we need? We need a leguminous tree that is highly palatable, that is fast growing, that it can establish easily, and that produces a lot of forage. Well, that's what they call invasive species. Any tree that establishes fast and grows fast and is very productive, they call it an invasive species. But mimosa hasn't been called that yet, so that would be a good thing to plant. And it needs to be fixed nitrogen, it has to have a deep taproot, it has to be long-lived, and disease and pest resistant. So they are invasive because they take over. Mimosa is palatable, and it has all the requirements we want. So that could be an option.
We've got a lot of Chinese tallow growing around wet spots, but I don't think anything needs that. Goats like tallow.
Anything I found out that you can make cattle eat most everything if you do it right, and I'm going to show it in the PowerPoint. What we got with this leucaena, Mark, is a double in stocking carrying capacity and a 30 to 40% higher performance per individual. So that's 30 to 40% higher performance or gain per day per animal. So that makes for more money.